If coronavirus hadn't happened, maybe I wouldn't have seen this side of him. He wore the same outfit all 3 days. Yo, that was rough. I mean, I'm a decent catch. Just please change your clothes.
We're back with Dating Diaries, Quarantine Confessions. I'm Andrea Gunning.
And I'm Ben Fetterman. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We don't want you to miss a moment of our quarantine confessions.
Things are loosening up across the country. In the Southeast, the Midwest, Florida. I saw some people on TV this week looking like they just got out of prison.
I mean, they kind of did. But, I'm starting to think about what the next phase of this is going to look like.
Yeah, here in Philadelphia, where we produce our show, and much of the Northeast, the stay-at-home order is still in place. There isn't anywhere you can really go on a date yet, so I haven't even imagined that scenario. Like going out on a date with a new person. Like, what do you even say? Have you been tested? I love your body, but I want to know about your antibodies. It's so fucked up.
One day at a time, Dre. One day at a time.
Well, I'll take some inspiration from our first story today. We're catching up with a single that had a hunch, took a chance, and changed her life. We met Teresa a few weeks ago when she shared that she met a guy on Hinge, and they had their first date the same day on a subway. She also revealed that she's a frontline COVID healthcare worker.
He said, give me 3 weeks dating me exclusively and we'll see where it goes. So I was like, all right, 3 weeks, 21 days.
Teresa recently checked back in to give us an update on her public transportation friends.
Originally, we had planned to do like a 21-day trial date, and he loosely moved in, but now we're going on 8 weeks of dating, and he has not gone home. I said to him the one day, I was like, yo, Hinge boyfriend, are you homeless? And I made him drive me to his apartment just so I could see that I wasn't dating a homeless dude. He is not homeless. He has a very nice apartment, but I'm still keeping him at mine. And it's amazing coming home every day after work and waking up every day to my new best friend. In a normal relationship, you would go on a couple of dates, you'd meet each other's friends, eventually meet each other's family, maybe in a year or two or whatever. You'd move in together. With quarantine, all that shit's out the window. At least for us. He moved in the day after we started dating.
It could have been a quarantine coupling of convenience, but Teresa is thinking he'll be around for any future lockdowns.
About 7 days in, I already knew I freaking wanted to marry him, and I took him home to meet my family. And the way we did it is we sat in the back of my pickup truck, my parents ordered pizza, and they sat at a picnic table like 20 feet away. In regards to his family, they don't even know I exist. His family's already really anxious about the coronavirus, and we feel like if he told them what my career was, they would be really, really anxious about his safety, and we don't want to put that extra stress on them. In regards to friends, I've met a couple of his friends over their Zoom dates, and he's met my girlfriends over Zoom dates, but that's about it. Like social isolation. We're doing everything in reverse. We live together before we even know the people in each other's lives. It's been a lot of freaking fun, and he's become my best friend in 10 minutes. I definitely hit the Hinge lottery. It was love at first swipe.
3-week trial period. I guess she's keeping the product.
I'm really happy for her. But I've just got one small issue. It's just a tiny, tiny red flag.
Gotta find a thorn on the rose. Always gotta find a thorn.
Listen, I think it's a little strange that he hasn't told his family about her.
From the son's point of view, he's probably just terrified to tell his parents.
I'm totally projecting here, but I've been in a situation where I didn't tell my friends and family a relationship that I was in. And that was for the wrong reasons. Listen, what he is doing is risky. And I think that when you can't admit that you're doing something to the closest people in your life, there's a problem there.
I think that is a concern that she's saying this is someone I want to marry, and she doesn't know his parents.
Everybody deserves love. I didn't have a doubt that we were going to hear back from Teresa and things were just chugging right along. Like, I had no doubt. When you hear her talk about being able to wake up to this new best friend, you can just hear her pinching herself because she's so happy.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy for her.
Gives you a little hope.
Gives you a little hope. Our first single today is Nick. He lives in Philadelphia and works in events. He's 27 years old, gay, and a social butterfly. He met a guy around the holidays, and they started seeing each other seriously at the beginning of the year.
We went on our first date, and then from there, we began texting really often and basically just having a fluid conversation. There was not a day that went by that we hadn't spoken first thing in the morning, last thing at night.
After only a few months of dating, Nick went on vacation with his boyfriend to Miami. Sometimes traveling can make or break a relationship.
It really was a great vacation, and there was never a weird point during it. Coming out of that trip, just sitting on a plane, something just sparked. This might be potentially a real deal, and this might go the long haul. We really opened up about fears and vulnerabilities and all those types of things.
When they got back from their trip, the shelter-in-place order was just going into effect. Would that have an impact on the relationship?
Things started to change pretty quickly. He was finishing up school, had a job lined up at the end of spring. We kind of knew it was going to be most likely not based in Philadelphia. So at some point, there was going to have to be a decision of what road you want to go down.
We've all had a relationship with a looming expiration date. One of you is graduating or your family is moving. There's a new job opportunity in another part of the country. There's a clock ticking somewhere quietly in the background. Nick's guy would be moving for work. It was definite.
We're about to have dinner, and I just kind of blurted out. I was like, so what are we going to do? I really put the ball in his court. At that point, I had recognized that I wanted to make it work. I wanted to try and see if this is something. But eventually that conversation led to him saying that he needed to do this by himself and that he couldn't handle the pressure of trying to transform this into a full-blown relationship. It's hard to jump into that conversation when someone's mind is already fairly made up. And it sucks. As quickly as we got into it, it as quickly came apart.
It was over. Nick was surprised, hurt, disappointed. And then there's being alone at home with your thoughts and your phone and social media.
It is so difficult to give yourself space from the way that our phones know us now. And it's just a constant dagger in your side. There's no escaping it. There's literally so much work that has to go into muting his friends. And then, you get into this mind spin of, is this person moving on? Is this person thinking about me? Are they on new apps? And all that shit, it's just like a new layer of hurt that comes back and gets you.
Heartbreak in quarantine really hurts. And although the world is slowly beginning to reopen, Nick is still working from home. Bars and restaurants in his region are still closed. He's alone with his phone and his thoughts.
You do your best not to look, and I muted it for a while just to give myself a break, and then you see that person look at your story. Then that stupid fucking purple ring around that fucking portrait picture. How do you not click it? Because you just want to know what they're doing. It's almost like a battle of who can get over it faster. And that's what is so shitty. So I got rid of that. And then a couple weeks later, I downloaded Hinge and Tinder again. I'm at that point where it's something to do. It's something to keep busy during the day.
When everyone is using the dating apps to find a new love interest or just for entertainment, you're bound to see some things you don't want to see.
I did run into him on an app, and it was a kick to the fucking gut. In normal life would have been too soon, but in pandemic days, a day feels like 2 fucking months. So when you sit there and stew on your thoughts for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was, you're like, oh, okay, well, I've just mentally gone through a month of emotions in my head.
Without your go-to coping mechanisms, Life in Corona can be a real head trip.
Just going out with your friends and getting fucked up, like that is a normal part of life that makes everything more tolerable. We're all on edge. We're all pissed off. We're all horny. It's just like, what the fuck, dude?
Breakups in quarantine. Can't be easy.
Fucking worst. A lot of people measure what your heartbreak should be like for the duration of time, for the amount of dates you went on. No one considers that because of the phones and because you're connected virtually, you are with that person essentially all day.
Yeah. When you're in a new relationship, that conversation is constant.
And they become that person you talk to in the morning, all throughout your day, the last person you text before you go to sleep, wake up, and repeat. They become your go-to person. So when that person goes away, it feels like a lost appendage. And that's a whole element that people just disregard when it comes to heartbreak.
Yep.
Thought pollution when being rejected is hard. And thought pollution in quarantine is fucking nuts. Social media can make that thought pollution even worse. It's really hard to disconnect. It's really hard to create boundaries.
It's the instant gratification of seeing that text message pop up, the like on your Instagram picture. There's science on this. There are endorphins that pop up when you see that connectivity. And right now, in quarantine, there's no other place to put your energy.
The guy that ghosted me, we follow each other on Spotify. I went on Spotify to put on some music, to wallow. And I see that he is fucking listening to Whitney Houston's I'm Every Woman. And here I am, picturing him in his underwear, sliding across his apartment, dancing. It really is this mental fucking juggling act of assessing who's getting over it quicker. And in my case, he's listening to fucking Whitney Houston and I'm listening to Dashboard Confessional. I think that's a simple answer. It really hurts, and you have to be really strong and disconnect to protect your mental health. Those boundaries, though, come from you, come from your own will, come from what you feel like you deserve and what's healthiest for you. And it's so hard to remove the friend. It's so hard to unfollow because it's just like you want to keep that hope alive. You can really train yourself to think, well, if they're looking at my story, they're still interested. The reality is, no, they're not. Simon lives in Hong Kong. He sent us a great email at datingdiariespod@gmail.com. So we asked him to come on the podcast and share his story.
Hong Kong's the best. I absolutely adore Hong Kong. It's a great city. I moved with my girlfriend at the time. She was born in Hong Kong, and we both were like, right, we want to change from London and moved here. But unfortunately, that didn't work out.
Simon loved his new home and had a great job. He chooses the films that passengers watch on a major airline. Thanks, Simon. He was single, but staying put.
I was brought into this new world of dating apps and played around with it for a bit. My only date that I actually ended up going on through the dating apps was this girl, Matilda, who I'm now still seeing.
He explained what he noticed in her picture that drew him in.
It was very natural and not posy, and that's what I was really drawn to. You can just tell she was a happy, chilled person, not trying too hard and clearly very confident. Just, this is who I am, and yeah, you should like me. We met on Bumble and then randomly walked into each other on the street a few days later after our first date. We spent the rest of that time together, and then we just started escalating. We went on lots of dates, and it was a bit of a whirlwind. She had just moved to Hong Kong and I was showing her around, and it was really exciting.
The coronavirus was escalating in China around this time. Matilda was working for a family in Hong Kong that decided to get out while they still could. So Matilda returned to her home country, Australia, about 3,500 miles away.
So she moved back, and now it's actually physically impossible for us to see each other because of both our governments. So that's been a bit tricky, to say the least.
This is a twist on a classic tale. Boy meets girl. Global pandemic happens. Girl moves to Southern Hemisphere. Boy is really bummed.
One day I came home from work and I was feeling a bit down, and I was talking to Matilda and she said, I'm going to do something for you. And then I get a knock on the door and she's delivered me this feast of food. So then I videoed me unboxing it and my reaction to it. And it genuinely felt like we were having dinner together, or it was like a date. It was a very special thing to have a meal ordered for someone else that they've kind of surprised you with. Little things like that. That's why she's awesome. Even when she left Hong Kong, she left little notes hidden around the apartment. It's so creative.
Simon is also reflecting on the value of not seeing each other.
I think that sometimes you can get swept up falling for the situation, like falling for the atmosphere of the bar you're at or running around lots of lovely places. But this quarantine sort of forces us to just talk to people in real life. And in some ways, it's much better because you really get to know someone on a deeper level and there's no distractions.
And as things are opening up in the Eastern Hemisphere, it looks as if they will see each other again.
There's a lot of hurdles still to go. The Australian government has to let her leave. The Hong Kong government has to let her arrive. Then she has to get tested. Then she has to go into quarantine. But as long as all of that is fine, then we can be in the same country again.
Our international friends, Simon and Matilda. It's like a story out of a Roald Dahl book. And I love it.
Is there a peach involved?
I think it is super cute that they met on the app and then just happened to run into each other on this street. That is fate. Love in the time of COVID. It's insane to think what they now have to go through to just see each other.
Physically impossible has taken on a whole new meaning.
He said something about how virtual relationships help distinguish between love and infatuation.
He said the value of not seeing each other right now allows you to foster something that you wouldn't otherwise be able to find in our kind of traditional dating process.
Focusing on getting to know someone is 100% true. I think it's really easy for people to say, oh, I'm no longer interested in that person. This one thing bothers me, moving on to the next, because everyone is just like a swipe away. And I think that now more than ever, people are really kind of forced to get to know the opportunity that's right in front of you. And in some cases, it's really helping people get clear on, do I really like this person or is it just infatuation?
And during this lockdown, there's not a bunch of bullshit to get caught up in.
When we see people who take the easy way out, it's nice to see two individuals just like lean in and do the work, even if they're like 3,500 miles away from one another. And they make a commitment to helping each other through. It's really nice to see. At the beginning of this series, we met Lauren, a bubbly, single 31-year-old in Manhattan. She was really liking this guy that she met online. Then she found out some interesting news while she was on a FaceTime date with him.
I look at him and I go, so you slept with my roommate? And he goes, oh, so she told you.
She had also been casually seeing another guy before quarantine. He's English and lived in Brooklyn. Well, since we first talked to Lauren, that relationship picked back up. The English guy has been living with his family up in Maine during lockdown, but keeping in touch.
Every Saturday for the last couple of weeks, we had been FaceTiming and it had been going well. From the beginning, he piqued my interest. We had gone on 3 dates before the pandemic. So this was my 4th time seeing him in person. And unlike relationships that maybe you're fostering on the apps right now, we had that luxury of meeting face to face.
They were going to meet again. He was coming back to New York to pack up his things and move out of his apartment. They made a date, and Lauren even generously offered to help him pack up his place.
I'm very excited. I'm feeling very girly. I'm looking through my clothes. trying to sort through my makeup that I had organized so I could put something on my face. And I get in his car and he's wearing sweatpants. And I'm like, really? I haven't seen you in a month and a half at least.
Wait, what? Sweatpants? Oh, no, he didn't.
One of the things I always noticed about him before we went into quarantine was how well he dressed. I was so taken aback, but in some ways in the back of my mind, I felt a little silly because here I was so excited and wanting to put my best foot forward, and he did none of this.
The man was already dressed for packing boxes. Lauren looked past it. She was determined to enjoy their evening, dinner and champagne at his place. Nice, but a little awkward after not seeing him for 2 months. The next day, she kept her promise.
We pick up the U-Haul, and moving during a pandemic is unlike anything you've ever experienced.
Lauren had been entertaining some fantasy that packing together would be kind of a romantic comedy with stolen kisses, lots of flirtation, funny little mishaps. But she wasn't in that movie.
This felt like we were 2 years into a relationship. Yo, you got the dog? Oh, can you pick that up? Okay, great. I'll put this here. It was literally just picking up and putting down. Moving during coronavirus, anybody who ever had thoughts that it could be cute or fun or flirty, it's not. Don't do it. There's no romantic comedy. This is like one of the breakup movies.
Virtual dates and distancing gives us a chance to know someone without all the pressure surrounding sex, spending the night, who is paying for dates. Lauren learned that it doesn't necessarily cover everything.
I was very sad leaving that weekend knowing that I could build a virtual relationship with somebody to then come together in person and not have it be what we thought it was.
The truth is, the relationship was better online. There wasn't a lot of magic in person. In Lauren's mind, this just didn't work. He didn't work for her. English accent and all.
Because of this, I'll be more open to meeting somebody in person. Even if it's having a picnic in the park or bringing a bottle of wine somewhere.
Truth be told, Lauren's still a little pissed about the clothes.
He wore the same outfit all 3 days. Yo, that was rough. This is a weird time and it brings out weird traits in people, and it makes you wonder if coronavirus hadn't happened, maybe I wouldn't have seen this side of him. I just wish that there had been more effort and thought put into the weekend. I mean, I'm a decent catch. Just please change your clothes.
Ben, what the fuck was Lauren expecting?
I can't defend my girl Lauren here. There's nothing romantic about a moving day. Nothing.
Moving is never cute. It is never fun. It is never sexy. There is a reason why this movie has not been made. Okay, we are not in When Harry Moved Sally or When Sally Moved Harry.
Seems clear. Our English guy did not come prepared. He had his moving outfit picked out. I think the date might have been tacked on. I think he was planning to just get in and get out. And Lauren had much different expectations for how the long weekend was going to go.
I think a lot of us have been there where we're 15, 20 minutes into the date and you're like, oh, this is not what I expected. But it's managing expectations, girlfriend. Like, did you guys think you would be fucking in a U-Haul? I'm just unclear.
I'm going to put myself into his shoes here. Pre-date, he's probably packing boxes, and packing is a sweatpants type of outfit.
No one would argue with that. It is. But can we just take a second? I know we're in a quarantine, but who's the guy that's going after his Hinge date to help him pack?
That's something that you need to be in a serious relationship or a marriage.
Yeah, no one's their best self moving. So to me, this comes off as I get a little bit of help with the moving. I may get my dick wet, and I get to wear sweatpants the whole time. That's fucked up.
Sounds like an efficient weekend.
That is opportunistic if I've ever heard.
Yeah, but what I appreciate about Lauren is she learned something. Nah, that's not for me. Not into it. Bye. Move on. And I think she had an important realization that the virtual stuff doesn't always translate to real life, and you got to be prepared for that.
On the next episode of Dating Diaries, Quarantine Confessions.
He's getting my pictures, he's seeing me naked, and I don't get to be like taken out to dinner. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get to cuddle afterwards. The sex stuff is really fun, but then immediately afterwards, I get very lonely.
We love hearing from you guys. Keep writing in at datingdiariespod@gmail.com. If you like the show, give us a 5-star rating and write a review. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
And you can follow us on social media at Dating Diaries QC. Remember, new episodes drop every Wednesday. Till then, stay safe out there, guys. This podcast is hosted and produced by me, Andrea Gunning. Executive produced by Nancy Glass, Ben Fetterman, and Carrie Hartman. Produced by Julie Clark and Rocky Alt. Edited by Matt Delvecchio with assistance from Dean Welsh and Kelly Wardhand. Thanks to production coordinators Megan Paisley and Brianna Fars. The show was mixed by Dave Zaya. Special thanks to Mybe Music. Some names have been changed to protect privacy.